What if I told you that the world around you is not as solid, predictable, or objective as you think? That the very fabric of reality might be shaped, in part, by your own thoughts? At first glance, this may sound like science fiction, or perhaps a philosophical idea best left to dreamers. But in the world of quantum physics, the science that studies the smallest building blocks of the universe, this possibility is not as far-fetched as it seems. For centuries, human beings have believed that reality is fixed. Rocks are solid, time moves forward, and the world outside our minds exists independently of us. But the deeper scientists have looked into the quantum realm, the world of atoms, particles, and energy, the stranger reality becomes. In fact, at the smallest scales of existence, reality doesn't behave like a rigid machine. Instead, it behaves like a field of possibilities, waiting to be shaped. One of the most famous experiments in quantum physics is the double-slit experiment. Imagine a beam of light, or even tiny particles like electrons, fired at a screen with two slits cut into it. If the particles were just little balls, like tiny bullets, you'd expect them to form two neat lines on the screen, one behind each slit. But when scientists performed this experiment, something far stranger happened. Instead of two lines, the particles formed a pattern of waves, an interference pattern, as if each particle were somehow acting like a wave, passing through both slits at once and interfering with itself. But here's the truly bizarre part. When scientists placed detectors at the slits to observe which slit the particle actually went through, the interference pattern disappeared. The particles behaved like ordinary little bullets again, choosing just one slit. In other words, the very act of observation changed the outcome of the experiment. Reality shifted depending on whether it was being watched. This is known as the observer effect, and it's one of the most mind-bending discoveries in all of science. At the quantum level, particles do not exist as fixed objects until they are observed. Instead, they exist as probabilities, a cloud of potential outcomes, until observation collapses them into one reality. Think about that for a moment. Reality doesn't simply exist, fully formed, waiting for us to stumble upon it. Instead, it seems to emerge through interaction, through awareness, through attention. In other words, reality and observation are deeply connected. Now, this is where things begin to cross from physics into philosophy. If observation affects reality at the quantum level, what does that mean for human consciousness? Could it be that our minds, through attention and thought, have the ability to shape the physical world around us? Many scientists would caution against jumping to that conclusion too quickly. Quantum mechanics is not magic, and human thought is not the same as a measuring device in a physics lab. But still, the parallels are striking. Our thoughts are forms of energy. Every idea, every belief, every focus of attention generates patterns of electrical and chemical activity in the brain. And if observation itself is able to collapse probabilities into reality, perhaps our thoughts and perceptions play a larger role in shaping our world than we've been taught to believe. To understand this, let's go deeper into the mechanics of thought itself. Your brain is made up of about 86 billion neurons, each firing electrical impulses, creating complex patterns of activity that correspond to your thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. When you think about something, your brain is essentially sending out signals, shaping your inner experience of reality. Over time, the more you think in a certain way, the stronger those neural pathways become, reinforcing beliefs, habits, and expectations. In neuroscience, this is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself based on repeated thoughts and experiences. If you constantly think of yourself as powerless, your brain wires itself into a state of limitation. If you consistently focus on opportunities, possibilities, and solutions, your brain wires itself into a state of empowerment. In other words, your inner thoughts literally shape your inner reality. But here's the question. Does this inner shaping extend outward? Can the act of thought, attention, and belief ripple into the external world, influencing outcomes and events? Some researchers believe it can, and quantum physics may offer a clue as to why. Consider the famous words of physicist Max Planck, the father of quantum theory. I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. To Planck, the universe was not built from matter first, but from mind, from awareness itself. And he wasn't alone. John Wheeler, another legendary physicist, once suggested that we live in a participatory universe, where reality is not simply out there, but co-created by the act of observation. He described it as it from bit, the idea that information, interaction, and observation give rise to reality itself. If this is true, then your thoughts are not just private, fleeting images inside your head. They may be part of the very mechanism by which reality unfolds. Think of it this way. Each thought is like dropping a stone into a pond. The ripples spread outward, intersecting with the ripples of other stones, creating patterns on the surface of the water. In the same way, your thoughts may ripple into the quantum field of probabilities, subtly influencing which outcomes collapse into your lived reality. This idea is echoed in experiments in psychology as well. For example, studies have shown that a person's expectations can change the outcome of an event, a phenomenon known as the placebo effect. When someone believes a sugar pill is real medicine, their body often heals as though they had taken the actual drug. Belief, expectation, and thought directly change physical reality inside the body. So what if the placebo effect is not an anomaly, but a clue to a larger truth? What if consciousness is not just a passive observer of reality, but an active participant? If belief can heal the body, could it also shape the world outside of us? Quantum physics provides another mysterious clue: quantum entanglement. Entanglement occurs when two particles become linked in such a way that the state of one instantly determines the state of the other, no matter how far apart they are. Separate them by a millimeter or by light years, the connection remains. Albert Einstein famously called this spooky action at a distance. Yet modern experiments confirm it is real. Now think about this. If tiny particles can remain connected across vast distances, could human consciousness, built from quantum processes in the brain, also be entangled with the world around us? Could our thoughts, in some unseen way, ripple into the fabric of reality? Some scientists speculate that consciousness itself may arise from quantum processes within the brain. The theory of orchestrated objective reduction, proposed by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, suggests that microtubules inside brain cells may function as tiny quantum computers. If true, then our thoughts are not just electrical sparks in the skull, they may be quantum events, woven into the same mysterious fabric that governs the universe. This opens a startling possibility: that the act of thought is not just personal but cosmic. When you focus your attention on an idea, you may be interacting with the quantum field itself, the invisible sea of probabilities from which all matter arises. In essence, your thoughts could be tiny nudges, guiding reality toward one possibility over another. We see glimpses of this in daily life. Have you ever noticed that when you fixate on a goal, say, buying a particular car, you suddenly start noticing that car everywhere? Or when you believe an opportunity will arise, chance encounters seem to align in your favor. Skeptics dismiss this as coincidence or selective attention, but perhaps it's more. Perhaps it's the mind resonating with reality in ways we don't fully understand. Even psychology acknowledges that our perceptions create our experience. The human brain processes billions of bits of information every second, yet your conscious mind can only handle a fraction of it. This means your reality is filtered. You don't experience the world as it is, but through the lens of your beliefs, expectations, and focus. In a very real sense, your thoughts already create your personal reality. Quantum physics magnifies this idea to a universal scale. If the universe is participatory, as Wheeler suggested, then perhaps consciousness acts like a lens, collapsing certain probabilities into existence while leaving others unrealized. In this view, reality is not a fixed script but an improvisation, co-written by the universe and the observer. But here's the deeper question. If thoughts shape reality, what are we creating unconsciously? Most people spend their days replaying worries, doubts, and fears. If thoughts truly ripple into the quantum field, then we may be unintentionally reinforcing the very struggles we hope to escape. On the other hand, if we learn to direct our minds to focus on possibility, gratitude, and vision, perhaps we can shift the probabilities in our favor. This is not about magical thinking or wishing without action. It's about alignment. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions resonate in the same direction, you generate coherence. Neuroscience shows that coherent brain states, where your mind is clear and focused, are more powerful for learning, creativity, and decision-making. And at the quantum level, coherence may amplify the signal of your intention, nudging reality toward your chosen outcome. Ancient wisdom traditions have long suggested this, from Buddhist teachings on mindfulness to Hindu concepts of Maya, the illusion of reality, to modern ideas of manifestation. The message has been consistent. The mind is not separate from the universe. It is part of its creative force. Quantum physics is now providing the scientific language to describe what sages have whispered for millennia. Imagine reality as a vast ocean of potential. Each wave is a possibility, waiting to be observed, chosen, or collapsed into form. Your thoughts are like the rudder of a ship, small but powerful, steering you towards certain currents and away from others. The question is, are you steering consciously or drifting unconsciously? The science of thought creating reality challenges us to take responsibility for our inner world. It suggests that the stories you tell yourself are not harmless, they are blueprints. Your self-concept becomes the architecture of your future. If you believe you are limited, life will echo limitation. If you believe you are capable, opportunities reveal themselves. But perhaps the most astonishing implication is this: reality is not finished. It is not a solid wall, but a flowing river, shaped moment by observation, intention, and choice. And your mind, strange as it may seem, is part of the river's current. If our thoughts can shape reality, even in subtle ways, then what does that mean for the future of humanity? It suggests that we are not just passive passengers in a predetermined universe. We are participants in creation itself. Every thought, every belief, every focus of attention is like a vote cast into the cosmic field of possibilities. This is why collective consciousness matters. History shows us that when enough people share a vision, whether it's the dream of civil rights, landing on the moon, or building global technology, the world reshapes itself around that vision. Ideas begin in the invisible realm of thought, but when held with clarity and belief, they solidify into the concrete realities of tomorrow. The implications go even deeper. If reality is participatory, then perhaps meaning itself is woven into the structure of the universe. Your purpose is not an accident. Your awareness, your choices, your imagination are all part of the cosmic fabric. The universe is not a cold machine running on empty laws of physics. It is alive with possibility, waiting for you to interact with it. And this is where responsibility comes in. If your thoughts ripple into reality, what are you creating? Are you feeding a world of fear, division, and doubt? Or are you contributing to a reality of growth, harmony, and discovery? The science of quantum physics doesn't just challenge us to understand the universe, it challenges us to understand ourselves. The double-slit experiment showed us that the simple act of observation changes the outcome. Entanglement showed us that separation may be an illusion, that everything is connected at a deeper level. Neuroplasticity shows us that the brain rewires itself based on what we repeatedly think and believe. Put all of this together, and the message is clear: reality is more fluid, more connected, and more influenced by consciousness than we ever imagined. So perhaps the question is not, do my thoughts create reality? But rather, which reality am I choosing to create with my thoughts today? Each moment is a crossroads. Each belief is a brushstroke on the canvas of existence. And each of us holds the power to shape, in small but meaningful ways, the unfolding of the universe itself. Science has given us the language to describe this mystery, But the mystery itself is not new. From ancient mystics to modern physicists, the truth has echoed through time. Consciousness is not a bystander. It is the architect. So as you move through your life, pay attention to the thoughts you nurture. They are not meaningless. They are seeds. And like all seeds, they grow into the landscapes of your future. The more intentional you are with your inner world, the more aligned your outer world becomes. Reality, after all, is not fixed stone, it is living flux. You've just explored the science and mystery of how thoughts may shape reality. At Reality Flux, we believe the universe is far more alive and interactive than we've been taught. If this journey opened your mind, imagine where the next one will take you. Subscribe now and join us as we uncover the hidden forces shaping existence. Until next time, keep questioning, keep imagining, and remember, reality is yours to create.